The Black Dollar abbreviated version. This is the introduction. The black community has been neglected, oppressed, and discriminated against for hundreds of years. If we do nothing, this misery will get worse and continue afflicting even future generations. The next generation of black children and grandchildren are counting on us to take necessary actions to stop this trend today. If we make the right decisions right now, those who come after us will be able to walk in peace and pride, knowing their forefathers took the necessary financial steps to ensure their financial future. They will be able to lead a life of dignity and experience the condition of being human more than wholesomely and with peace of mind. Cryptocurrency is here, and it is changing lives by making common people millionaires and even billionaires. Cryptocurrency is decentralized money, which means it is not controlled by any government or financial institution. This is a great thing since historically governments and financial institutions have made policies that intentionally lock out the black community and other minorities from financial opportunities.
Well, we all grew up, maybe not kids today, but we all grew up playing Monopoly. And we know what happens in Monopoly when one person owns all of the real estate on the board and has all the cash. Nobody else can play, right? Because there's no money to go around and the game is over.
Right,
here.
and it's a game of Monopoly where the person who has all the money to begin with. So they buy all the real estate with the money they're printing. And it's a special Black Lives Matter version of Monopoly, so when any black person rolls a dice, they go immediately to prison. That's the American system.
With cryptocurrency, we will be able to control our money, how it is spent, where it is spent, and on what we spend it on. It will be possible to save, grow wealth, and transfer this wealth to our future generations, thus securing their financial future and changing the current narrative and discrimination and poverty. You can change the course of the entire black and disadvantaged communities by simply investing and transacting in the black dollar cryptocurrency coin. When the internet was first introduced, very few people believed that the technology would revolutionize every industry.
That little mark with the A and then the ring around it.
At?
See, that's what I said. And Katie said she thought it was about.
Yeah. Oh.
But I'd never heard it.
Around
I'd never heard it said. I'd always seen the mark, but never heard it said. And then it sounded stupid when I said it. Violence at NBC. See, there it is. Violence at NBC. GE.com. I mean.
Well, Allison should know.
What is internet anyway?
Internet is that massive computer network. The one that's becoming really big now.
What do you mean? That's big. How does one? What do you write to it like mail?
No, a lot of people use it and communicate. I guess they can communicate with NBC writers.
What does
it mean?
It's a giant computer network made up of several universities and everything all joined together.
Right.
And others can access it.
Right.
And it's getting bigger and bigger.
It came in really handy during the quake. A lot of people, that's how they were communicating out to tell family and loved ones they were okay because all the phone lines were down.
I was telling Katie and I.
But you don't need that. You don't need a phone line to operate internet. No.
Those who started online-based businesses back then are now billionaires, such as Jeff Bezos. The rest of us are simply enjoying what the first believers built for us.
Long term, I believe that it's very easy to predict that there are going to be lots of successful companies born of the internet. They're going to have very large market caps and so on. I also believe that today, where we sit, it's very hard to predict who those companies are going to be. So you can make bets on these things, and I think that Amazon.com, if we're not one of those important, lasting companies born of the internet, we will have nobody to blame but ourselves, and that we will be extremely disappointed in ourselves. But there are no guarantees.
In the same way, those who invested just $100 in Bitcoin back in 2011 are now millionaires. In under a decade, cryptocurrency was able to grow $100 to more than $9.2 million. Just like the internet, those who invest early will reap the biggest rewards, while the latecomers will have to play catch-up. How the black dollar can change the lives of millions. The COVID-19 pandemic, as well as the George Floyd incident, have led to a great awakening. all over the world. These events uncovered the obvious racial discrimination that has continued consistently over the years against blacks and other communities of color in the U.S. and in the world. Tearing down statues of glorified slave owners that represent the evils committed against the black community and Black Lives Matter protests are steps in the right direction, but it is only a step, not the end of the journey. We have identified the major causes of poverty in the black community, and we have successfully identified the solution, which can be found in the full version of this white paper. This abbreviated version summarizes some key points of the full version. However, this document is so important, every man, woman, and child in the black community has a responsibility to read the full version at least once if capable. This solution will solve the issue of racism by providing an alternative financial operating system for the black community and people in poverty all over the world by leveraging blockchain technology. This project will enable impoverished communities to hold political candidates and corporations responsible by unifying the voice of the people. The cyclical nature of systemic-driven poverty.
A new report by Citigroup concludes that racism against African Americans has absolutely cost the U.S. trillions of dollars in the past 20 years. Now, the analysis does not include how much cities and states have paid out in civil lawsuits similar to Breonna Taylor's. Instead, researchers measured 4 key racial gaps for Black Americans, including wages, education, housing, and investment. They conclude that if these key racial gaps had been closed 2 decades ago, $16 trillion would have been added to the U.S. economy. And if these racial gaps are closed today, the U.S. stands to gain $5 trillion of additional GDP over the next 5 years. So basically, this study finds that racism is expensive and inclusion is financially beneficial for the nation. Sometimes you've got to hit people in the wallet before they actually make any changes.
The root of the problem of systemic racism and financial inequity is the U.S. dollar. The U.S. dollar is the pinnacle of symbolic racism, far more powerful than statues of glorified slave owners. The majority of the world has to use and exchange paper money with the faces of slave owners in order to perform daily transactions from trivial material items to the necessary rent, food, etc. The current financial system has been used to keep the black community at the lowest layer of the financial pyramid. As a result, black people are underrepresented in the tech industry. Black people are overrepresented in terms of homelessness. Many families live in impoverished neighborhoods with high crime rates, job scarcity, and schools with inadequate resources. Because of the distressed situations many black families face, most are unable to retain their income, which leads to a wider gap in wealth rather than income, and little to no generational wealth accumulation. Inadequate education means fewer job opportunities. Financial exclusion, that is, the inability to access basic financial services, i.e. mortgages, consumer credit, is a major problem for many black people, and it has indirectly contributed to police brutality and the prison industrial complex. We introduce the black dollar coin as the solution to these problems that trouble the black community. Cryptocurrency and the black dollar. The black dollar is a decentralized financial system that runs on the Ethereum network under the ERC-20 token. Ethereum is a form of blockchain technology that makes it possible to launch and run digital currencies securely. Blockchain technology is termed as decentralized because it is not owned or controlled by any government or bank, but by individuals and organizations all over the world who provide the necessary computing and power resources for a fee called the miner's fee. Through the black dollar, black communities will be able to leverage the $1.2 trillion in spending power currently held by the black community in the U.S. alone, achieve financial inclusion, achieve social economic and political empowerment. The black dollar takes advantage of cryptocurrency, which is a decentralized digital currency. Cryptocurrency provides an alternative to paper currency, like the US dollar. Cryptocurrency allows for the payment of goods and services without the need for any middleman or banks. To enter this market, you only need a computer or a smartphone that can compute data and access the internet. All transactions can be viewed as an open ledger blockchain that is viewable to the public, which makes the black dollar immune to fraud. Cryptocurrencies gain value based on their activity. The more people are sending, receiving, or simply storing the coins on the platform, the more valuable it becomes.
Bitcoin is different from other fiat currencies in a couple ways, but not the way people think. So most people think it's different because it is a digital currency, but fiat currencies are also digital, right? So the dollar is a digital currency, the euro is a digital currency. They're all just ones and zeros in the banks of the world. So it's not that Bitcoin is digital that makes it unique. It's unique in that it cannot be created out of thin air. So dollars, euros, yen, these can all be created out of thin air by people who have permission to do so, which is generally a central bank. Bitcoin has no ability to create it out of thin air, so it is a scarce digital asset.
Furthermore, cryptos are classified as deflationary assets because their value increases over time. Ultimately, if half of the African American population, 50 million total, invested just $20 in the black dollar, that would immediately give it a market capitalization of $1 billion, well above most cryptocurrencies. The black dollar will be available for purchase via cryptocurrency exchanges and exchangers, as well as by personal transactions, where the sender and the receiver agree privately. Cryptocurrency can have incredible returns over a short period of time. In the best cases, a $100 investment can turn into $9.2 million in under a decade. In 2009, when cryptocurrencies first surfaced, there were only 793 billionaires worldwide, and their net worth totaled $2.4 trillion. After the rise of blockchain technology, that number has now jumped to 8.9 trillion in 2020, with over 2,800 billionaires. Advantages of the black dollar include low transaction fees. Cryptocurrency is immediately processed, thus the black dollar gives you instant access to your money and increased cash flow. Reliability and security. A duplicate of every transaction is stored in encrypted form on the blockchain. Ability to make transfers and conversions internationally. High liquidity. The black dollar is extremely easy to buy and sell using a wide range of tools and tactics, including exchanges and liquidity agents stationed in various physical locations. Trustless ownership and exchange. No need for third parties such as banks and governments. Real-time transparency. Every transaction is recorded on the blockchain after being approved. Accuracy. Due to automation and minimization of manual work, the chances of an error occurring that often appear in traditional banking systems, such as when filling out forms manually, are eliminated. Ability to make anonymous transactions. Money can bring peace or money can cause war. Money makes the world go round. However, most people cannot tell you what money is. So, what is money? In order to understand money, you need to understand its functions. Two major functions of money we will focus on are the basics. 1. Money is a medium or method of exchange, meaning you can trade it for goods or services or to settle a debt. And 2, a store of value, meaning you can save it and it will hold its value in trade to some degree, so you can trade it at a later date. Money is a way to save and a way to trade. The next step is to understand the kinds of money that exist. Many people believe there is only paper money, but that is not the whole truth, so help me God. Money comes in 3 major forms: commodity-based money, fiat legal tender, and fiduciary money. We will break down each one so you can clearly understand. Commodity currency. Commodity currency comes as the first type of money, and it could always be considered like the most stable form of money. This is because it has been proven to work for thousands of years. It includes commodities such as gold, silver. Some people call it God's money. According to the U.S. Constitution, Article 1, Section 10, gold and silver is the only real way to settle a debt. Commodity-based money is the most proven money since it's been around since the times of every empire and every civilization that's ever existed. Besides, gold or silver, holding its value for trade, you can also wear it. So it has multiple use case scenarios. How does gold and silver get its value? Gold and silver gets its value based off scarcity. It's only so much gold and silver on the planet that has been discovered. Commodity-based currency will be here forever. Here are the pros of commodity money. Commodity money has intrinsic value. The value comes from the scarcity in the commodity. Government-based money comes and goes with the rise and fall of empires. Gold and silver stood the test of time. Commodity experiences low inflation since they are based on real resources. And decentralized, nobody controls it but you. Nobody knows you have it unless you tell them. Here are the cons with commodity money. It is difficult to transport, especially in large quantities. Commodities may vary in terms of their physical quality. It is not legal tender, so not everybody has to accept it, even though it holds value. The next kind of money is called fiat, legal tender or paper money, and that is money that is printed by a government. It has no scarcity value like a commodity because it can be printed in unlimited amounts since it's man-made. The value of fiat comes from a government establishing fiat as the legal way to settle a debt in its territories. It has no other use cases, and the government establishes what every unit is worth. As long as the government continues to have credibility or continues to exist, the fiat can continue to exist. However, you can look to what history has shown us about fiat. The Roman government had fiat. Now it's not here. And the Dutch government had fiat. It's not here anymore. Fiat comes and goes with the rise and fall of empires. It even depreciates as other empires emerge into power. Fiat is also extremely vulnerable to inflation. Google the current inflation situation in Venezuela and see what you come up with. The pros of fiat legal tender. Universally accepted as legal tender. Easy to transport. Backed by the reputation of a government. Everybody has to legally accept it to settle a debt. And the cons with fiat legal tender. Super sensitive to inflation. Fiat money is created out of thin air, and it causes inflation as it's printed. Inflation eats wealth. It's tied to a government's reputation. It's controlled by the government, which can make stipulations to the holders. An example would be,
in the United States, it's illegal to carry more than $10,000 at a time without notifying the federal authorities, even though it's your money.
Fiduciary money is when a community comes together and collectively decides that a money has value. So, fiduciary money gets its value from the community that ordained it. Fiduciary money is decentralized in nature. For example, communities all over the planet came together and agreed that Bitcoin has value. And that value for one Bitcoin is about $13,000 at the time of this recording. The cryptocurrency community is the fastest growing community on the planet. As long as the cryptocurrency community continues to exist, it will always have value. Another form of decentralized fiduciary money is cigarettes in prison. Prisoners all over the planet have come to the conclusion, and they all agree, that cigarettes have value and they are worth a certain amount of value. In prison, people use cigarettes to get their hair cuts. They pay to get their hair braided. They pay to get extra snacks. They use it for prostitution. They pay to get people beat up. They can pay for just about anything in prison using cigarettes, even if you don't smoke. It's a good idea to stockpile them just in case you need to transact. The prison community gave transactional and storage value to the cigarettes. As long as the community exists, cigarettes will have value in prison. Here are the pros with their fiduciary money. Decentralized, nobody controls it but you, and nobody knows you have it unless you tell them. Fiduciary money appreciates in value when more people join the economy. As long as the community exists, fiduciary money will continue to have value. And the cons with fiduciary money is volatile, since it loses value when the number of members using the system reduces, and increases in value when the members increase. Nobody has to accept it to settle a debt. So that's the difference between fiduciary, commodity, and fiat money. The black dollar is a type of fiduciary money, which is when a community comes together and collectively decides that a money has value. As a form of money, the black dollar functions as a store of value. A store of value is any asset that can maintain its value without significant depreciation over time. Because the black dollar runs on the Ethereum network and will be supported by millions of people, it will act as a store of value even in a volatile market environment. A medium of exchange. A medium of exchange is anything that can be used as a standard of value to facilitate the sale, purchase, or trade of goods and services. The black dollar will be used all over the world for all kinds of transactional purposes. A unit of account. A unit of account refers to a standardized measurement of value used to price goods and services such as USD, yen, etc. On its launch, the black dollar will have a target of $5. 1 BLR equals $5. A standard of deferred payment. A standard of deferred payment is an accepted method of settling debt. The black dollar will be used to settle debt both within and outside the platform. According to a 2019 survey by Fidelity Investments, approximately 22% of institutional investors already invest in cryptocurrency or some other form of digital assets. Most of these investments were made between 2016 and 2019. Established institutions and organizations like the Federal Reserve and JP Morgan Chase & Company are quietly accumulating cryptocurrency.
Why would the banks disrupt themselves by introducing a digital currency that would make it easier for consumers and businesses to disintermediate the banks? Well, the banks may not be the innovators. It may be that they are the reactors, that they will react when others innovate. And I'm sure that they've considered the trade-offs involved in whether to disrupt themselves by introducing digital currencies or whether to wait and react when others introduce digital currencies. Right now, digital currency sounds very edgy and kind of alternative lifestyle, but it's becoming the mainstream. And so the banks, the largest banks in particular, are very aware of this. They're investing in the technology, and they will provide this service as soon as it's profitable enough, after considering the cost to them of losing some of their current business that they're going to disrupt. Banks will eventually either be leading or following, but they'll be involved. They can't avoid it.
The blockchain is a technology, which is a good technology. We actually use it. It will be used for a lot of different things. God bless the blockchain. Cryptocurrencies and digital currencies, I think are also fine. JP Morgan moves $6 trillion around the world every day. We don't do it in cash. It's done digitally.
And JP Morgan will begin using the digital currency for a tiny fraction of the $6 trillion in transactions that it completes every day.
Thus, the black dollar seeks to empower the financially disadvantaged and taking advantage of the potential gains that cryptocurrency offers and strategically gaining a foothold before this window of opportunity closes. According to the Nielsen reports, the buyer power of the black community is worth $1.2 trillion annually. Additionally, black consumers tend to buy from companies that support causes they believe in. The black dollar and the consequential ability to dictate the value of money would only further increase the influence of black consumer power. Strategies for making the black dollar a reality. We will create an outreach team of activists, lawyers, writers, social media influencers, other professionals to seek the acceptance of the black dollar into mainstream banking and also with vendors. The black dollar will be marketed as a collective stand against not only racism, but also the class issue of poverty. We intend to launch a massive community volunteer program that will reach out and educate people both online, via social media, and offline about the black dollar. The time for black and disadvantaged communities to act is now.
Those at the top are seeing things go up. Those in the middle and below are seeing things go down and get worse.
You're living in poverty. Your schools are no good. You have no jobs. 58% of your youth is unemployed. What the hell do you have to lose?
By taking advantage of technologies such as blockchain and social media, we can achieve endless possibilities, including achieving financial liberation and putting an end to the systemic racism. However, the black dollar can only work if we unite as one bloc to support it. The trajectory of the current U.S. chattel system, as well as structural poverty, can be reversed. Recreation centers, libraries, and scholarship programs geared towards enriching and empowering marginalized groups, including African Americans, can be built. By using the black dollar, the community can support and fund political leaders from their own communities and hold candidates accountable after winning an election.
He picks a race battle. It happens time and time again, and you guys defend him.
No, he didn't pick a race battle. He picked the battle, and then the left and you choose to characterize it as a race battle.
What do you want me to do when he makes a racist comment? I call him a demagogue because I don't want to get into the business of what he thinks he is. Because in our political culture, if he says, I'm not a racist, then it gives guys like you cover to defend him. But let me ask you, what would you do if the president said, I am a racist? That's why I said it. What would you do?
Then I would not defend him because there's no excuse for racism in America.
Would you still support him as president? You have to think about it?
Really
you have to think about whether or not you would support a racist? Really?
I'd have to know who was running against him.
A racist?
Look,
an admitted racist, you'd have to know more?
I mean, you're making...
Chris, come on, man. It can't be that partisan.
No, these are ridiculous hypotheticals because of the
people
running against him.
It's ridiculous that it took you that long to answer it.
No.
You're running for Senate, and you got to take a pause whether or not, if he said he was a racist, you'd still support him? Come on, brother. I hope it's a satellite.
Through the black dollar, we can ensure that the future generations of black and other disadvantaged people is financially and socially secure once and for all. If things continue as they did the past 100 years, there will be no reparations. Besides, reparations was already given in the form of a stimulus to white slave owners, called the Compensated Emancipation Act of 1862. But we don't have to wait on reparations. We have the black dollar. It's our responsibility as a community to come together and collectively decide that our money has value, our vote has value, our voice has value. Doing business with the black community has value. We can achieve all of this with the black dollar. By centralizing the black voice and black money with the black dollar and black social media, the black community will have the power to influence the value of corporations. The black community will have the power to support and fund political candidates from their own community and hold political candidates accountable after winning an election. For the first time in American history, the black community will have money empowerment and respect with the adoption of the black dollar.